2 3/4 from both of us.
Yeah.
Matt Hardy would retain 9 minutes and 22 seconds.
So now, yeah. Like I said, Movem really not doing a very good job of being the manager. I have to say.
Or the bodyguard, I guess.
Yeah. Poor guy, he was mad because he was never a playable character in WWE. But
yeah, he wasn't SmackDown versus Raw. He was upset about that.
Yeah, that's why he was yelling at the fans. But he wasn't really upset about that.
So then,
again, another solid match. It was okay.
Yeah, that was all right. That's pretty much all I can say about it. Then they'd show footage from the past Monday Night Raw where Vince was doing the $1 million giveaway, which we already talked about earlier, would end up happening. Couldn't feel his legs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Watching that again was wild because like he's just standing on the stage and like the pyro's going off, then like he falls through the stage, and then he gets back up, and then the whole thing just falls on him.
I love Vince forever, the showman, like I said earlier.
So the next we would have the triple threat match for the ECW World Championship would be Kane defending against Big Show and Mark Henry.
Yeah. Going into this, actually, we had the great call by a certain commentator. Do you remember what he said?
Oh, yeah. What'd he say again?
He said the World Heavyweight World Championship for ECW. The ECW World Heavyweight World Championship.
I think there was another point where he referred to the announcer's table as our announcer's thing or something like that.
Yeah.
So for this one, sorry, I got lost in the notes for a second. Not that it was mentioned or anything, but we'd end up having a tri-branded ECW World title match, technically, because Kane had been drafted to Raw as the champion. Big Show was still on SmackDown. Keep that in mind. He wanted to be the ECW champion, even though he's still on SmackDown. And then Mark Henry
shows that had nothing to do with him right now. They didn't know what to do.
And then Mark Henry got moved to ECW as part of the supplemental draft, who they also had nothing to do with. So to start the match, Kane would deliver a boot to Henry, and then Mark would try to charge at Kane in the corner, but Kane would move out of the way and hit Big Show instead. Kane would then take the fight to Mark Henry and send him out of the ring. And now the match would be between Big Show and Kane. Big Show would hit a clothesline and a headbutt on Kane. Show would hit Irish whip Kane off the ropes, and Kane would come back with a swinging DDT. Kane would then do a whip on Show, but he'd no-sell and then send Kane to the outside. Kane would land awkwardly, and this would eventually draw attention from the trainers to come check on him at ringside. At this point, I have no idea what is going on.
Yeah.
Mark would get back in the ring, and him and Big Show would battle it out. They would both try to shoulder tackle one another, with neither getting the upper hand until Big Show would finally knock Henry down. Kane's still on the outside getting attended to by the trainers. While this was going on, Mark would get some offense in on Show. Eventually, Kane would just wave them off. Then Big Show and Mark Henry would do the double clothesline spot where they both go down. Then Kane would get back into the match by hitting a flying clothesline. He did a couple of running clotheslines on both opponents. Then Kane would try to build some momentum until Mark would put him in a bear hug. Kane would fight his way out of this and then send Mark into a big boot by Big Show. And then both Big Show and Kane would hit Mark with a double choke slam. Then both guys would try to go for the cover on Mark.
Which was just stupid.
I have no idea why either one of them would have thought they could get the pin when one of them's just clearly standing right there to break it up.
Yeah, so stupid.
So then it would be back to Kane and Big Show. They'd fight. Kane would do an ensigiri. That was interesting to see.
Yeah, it was.
Then in the end, Kane would do the suplex. They do the spot where Kane would suplex Big Show off the top rope, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Mark Henry would appear out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere. I couldn't believe it when he came up. I thought he was done.
And then he would hit Kane with a splash and become the new ECW World Champion. So this would be the end of Kane's run as ECW World Champion. Not a very eventful run. I mean, I mean, it was a title, and it was, I guess, it was just something for him to do. Like a lot of people, a lot of big card guys, they're kind of in that position where they just put him on there if they didn't know what to do. But he never really did anything as champion, so it was just so this is very forgettable. When I think of all the things that Kane did, this is nowhere near the top or any like one of the real highlights or anything.
Nope.
But at least now the ECW World Title, I guess you could say, would be back on ECW.
Yeah, which is good, I guess. But I just want to say my thoughts on this match. I thought this kind of sucked, like every ECW match. I don't know. It was just three guys. They had no idea what to do with it at the time.
Well, that and the problem is very slow as you'd expect and everything.
Yeah.
But and this would also be Mark Henry's first championship victory in 10 years.
Jesus.
His last title would be the European title.
That's ridiculous.
I know, because they'd end up pairing him with Tony Atlas later on when he was ECW champion. Actually,
asshole. If you haven't seen that, look up CM Punk shooting talking about Tony Atlas
at StarCast.
Yeah. If you want to get that joke.
Actually, it's not even really farther down the road, because it actually happens not too long after this. That's when they pair him. But you just look at I don't know. It's they, at least at this point, he was a serious character still. And then you look at the Hall of Pain Mark Henry a few years later. It's just a what could have been.
He should have been that way earlier. That character was so good. Welcome to the Hall of Pain. And then remember, not only that, but Mark is so good on the mic. You remember the fake retirement? That's one of the best segments ever.
Yeah, he had everyone fooled.
And then he hit Cena with the World Star. Oh my God, that was amazing.
Oh yeah, that was a great swerve. So yeah, Mark Henry would be the new ECW champion. 8 minutes, 18 seconds was the recorded time. 1.5 from me.
What did I give it?
You were a lot more favorable than I was.
What did I say?
You went with 2.5.
Yeah, I didn't hate it. I thought.
Now that I'm drafted back to Raw, there's no way I'm going empty-handed. So I'm going to beat Edge, return to Raw as World Heavyweight Champion exactly how I left, and be the man on Monday Night Raw. Then John Cena would appear, and then that would end the interview. But there would be a non-hostile confrontation between the two. John would welcome Batista to Raw, and then they'd shake hands. John would tell Dave that he made a bold statement. He wanted to be the man, and he can be the World Heavyweight Champion, but he had to realize something. If he wins tonight and becomes World Heavyweight Champion, then he may not be, by the end of the night, the only world champion on Raw. While this was going on, CM Punk would appear, who at this time was the holder of the Money in the Bank briefcase. And Heath 3 was also now a part of Raw. So he would interrupt by saying that he hopes both of them brings gold back to Raw because his briefcase is getting awfully heavy. So, wow, we got CM Punk, John Cena, and Batista all in the same segment here. That's great. Next, we would have the World Tag Team title match. It would be Ted DiBiase and a mystery partner versus Hardcore Holly and Cody Rhodes, the champions.
So really what we get is we get Cody Rhodes and Hardcore Holly against Ted DiBiase and Cody Rhodes.
Yep. So before the match, Rhodes and Holly would make their entrance, and Ted DiBiase would come out to some of the worst entrance music I've ever heard in my life.
Oh, it was awful.
What you were saying?
I was going to say that remember, I actually asked you before this match, how close is this to when Cody goes with Ted? Because I knew they did the thing where, I knew they did the thing where, I knew how it happened. I knew Cody went with Ted, and he was trained for Holly, but I forgot what it was, and then literally Ted came out, and I was like, oh, okay, it's this match.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, I thought this was a really weird way to do it.
Yeah, it was. Because I was.
I wouldn't even rate this because it's not really a match.
Yeah.
And then Cody just hits him with DDT, and then Ted hits him with I don't even know what it is.
Yeah, when looking at other ratings of how people were rating some of these matches and stuff, because I get curious about that stuff because I have my rating, And, like, by seeing that stuff, it's not going to really dictate how I think. I just want to see, like, what other people thought. I saw a couple dud ratings for this, but we decided not to rate it, so I guess we're a little nicer.
Yep.
But DiBiase would take the microphone and ask if they could all wait 10 minutes for his partner to arrive. Then the official would tell him that he'll have to go on his own 2-on-1 until his partner would show up, or he would have to forfeit the match. So it would begin. It would begin with DiBiase and Rhodes until Ted would tell Cody that he wanted to take on Hardcore Holly instead. So Cody would tag in Holly, and before he could do anything, all of a sudden Cody would hit Hardcore Holly with his DDT. Keep in mind, this is still young Cody, so he hasn't started using the Crossroads yet as his finisher. Then Ted would reveal that Cody Rhodes was his tag team partner. DiBiase would then apply his dad's move, the $1 Million Dream, and transition it into a Russian leg sweep. DiBiase also isn't doing Dream Street yet as his finisher. Then he would pin Hardcore Holly, and then Cody Rhodes and Ted DiBiase would defeat Hardcore Holly and Cody Rhodes to become the new World Tag Team Champions.
Yeah, this was weird.
And it's also worth mentioning that this would be Hardcore Holly's final match in the WWE.
Yeah, and what a way to go out.
Yeah, I know.
What is he, like a 15-year vet at this point?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah. And he goes out that way? Jesus.
I know. Yeah, so that's kind of sad. But this match only go 1:28, which, I mean, with how they did it, I mean, they couldn't have done anything real serious with it. Otherwise, it would have been kind of stupid. Or even more stupid, I should say. Actually, I'm not saying this was like... This is weird. Had they done this on Raw, it wouldn't have mattered, but it just seemed like a waste of a pay-per-view match.
I get what you mean.
But yeah, no rating from us, which that's probably the most generous thing we could do.
Yeah.
Then we'd have an interview with Todd Grisham from JBL Skybox with JBL himself.
JBL would talk for 25 minutes. It was a long promo.
It was. See, that was my only downside with it. But so Todd would start to ask him a question before JBL would cut him off. He'd say, "Todd, we're in my luxury suite here in the American Airlines Center, and the audacity of having a pay-per-view and calling it the Night of Champions in a state that has yearned for greatness since I have left, that absolutely amazes me. Please, Todd, please explain that to me. Why JBL would not have a match on this pay-per-view?" And Todd would respond by saying, "Because you're not a champion." JBL would respond to that by saying, "You're saying I'm not a champion." And then while he's talking, the crowd would begin to chant, "You suck at JBL." Then John would take the microphone from Todd and say, "In a failing economy, in a country where people are realizing that they're too stupid to know you can't buy things that you can't afford, and Americans are losing their homes, JBL owns his own company, a successful company that I am the CEO of. I own a luxurious penthouse apartment in New York City, and with Mr. McMahon being incapacitated, unfortunately, here in the WWE, I am the richest person in the entire World Wrestling Entertainment. That, to me, is a champion in life. And after all, who else can say that? Maybe Mark Cuban? Because I look around, I don't see any championship banners, because when JBL left Texas, champions quit being produced." Well, there would be a banner there 3 years later, but it wasn't there yet.
When the Mavericks beat the Miami Heat. But
yeah,
we won't go into that, obviously, because it's a wrestling podcast.
It is a wrestling podcast. I only pointed it out because I'm a Dallas Mavericks fan. But yeah, I've been the biggest proponent of just sticking to the wrestling stuff. But getting back to the promo, whatever Mark Cuban has done, whatever the state of Texas has done, what the city of Dallas has done is produced nothing but massive failures. The Dallas Cowboys, beloved America's team, the Dallas Cowboys, go to the NFC playoffs, the favorite, and choke. I do remember that, actually. But they don't just choke to anybody. They choke to the city of champions, JBL's home, the greatest city in the world, New York City, and home to the Super Bowl champions and my New York Giants. I've never been a fan of the whole cheap heat stuff, by taking shots at the city's own sport teams and stuff, but
It worked here. I'm not a big fan of Cheap Heat either.
But I guess it's not. I guess it's not as bad in this case because I mean the stuff he was saying wasn't totally wrong because like they hadn't had like anything there in a while.